Hey, welcome everyone to the I'll Be Living Life podcast. If you like the content, kindly support me by hitting the subscribe, like, and notification buttons. Today's special guest is Deva. She's on Instagram. Her handle name is DLINGEMANN. Welcome to the show, Deva.
Thank you so much for having me, Albie. It's just an absolute pleasure to be here.
Oh, pleasure's mine. Thanks for joining me. So normally what I do is I pick a few of my favorite pics from my guests and we talk about it. I like showcasing some of the talented people out there. And I also feel that it helps others with their photo skills. So what they see of you, they may take that and how you take your shots and or how you edit your shots, whatever. I feel that it may help the followers of mine as well as yours to understand what you're looking at or what you're taking pictures of. So that's kind of why I do this, and it also showcases talent, like I said.
Well, I think it's absolutely wonderful. I think it's just an incredible gift that you're giving not only me, but your followers and my followers. And I just think it's an amazing
thank you.
idea and execution, quite honestly.
Yeah, it's a slow grow right now. I've been doing it. It wasn't as growing as fast as my Instagram, but that's okay. I got years to do this, so we'll see where it goes, right?
Patience and perseverance. That's right.
That's right. So let's go with the first shot. Let's talk about May 28th with the bee.
Yes.
Okay, so this picture, I absolutely adore this picture. So I looked at it and I was like, huh. So I went through all your pictures and I picked out a few of my favorites. So you have many nice shots. So keep up the great work.
Thank you.
But capturing this bee going into this flower with that, I think it looks like an ant or something in there. I don't know what that is. Or maybe a baby bug or something.
Every spring when the saguaros bloom down here in Arizona, they're not particularly strong smelling, but they really attract the bees and they attract these little bugs. And I think at one point I didn't know the name of these bugs, but they're very particular in what they like to land on, and they just swarm around these saguaros, and it's just amazing to see them. And I don't know that they're very tiny, so to see this photograph, it was a gift to me when I looked at my SD card later, and I'm like, oh my god, I actually got it in focus. And plus the bee. And it was just a really thrilling moment when I caught this shot. And I'm so glad you picked it because macro sometimes people don't get as excited about.
Yeah.
And so to have you choose this one was really thrilling because I really, really love it.
I thought that, like, watching the video, I was like, wow, that's so cool. Because it looked like the bee was just floating like back and forth and back and forth. And then it finally went in there and I was like, wow, that's so cool. And then how crisp you got that shot of that macro shot of the bee with the little bug in it. I thought that's a great capture. Good for you.
Thank you. And I have to say, for some people, I know their macro shots, they have a tripod, they've got everything set up. It's a very particular process. I will be honest with you, I was standing on the side of a busy road. I had parked my car and run across the street to this squirrel that was blooming on the sidewalk. I was holding my camera over my head and somehow got this shot. So for those out there who just haven't attempted macro because they don't feel like you don't need anything special. Sometimes you just get really lucky and it's amazing.
Yeah. The things we do for a picture, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I almost got run over by, a Mack truck.
Yeah. What I always say when I go on hikes, it's not worth it to get that 5 extra feet or 10 extra feet like in a picture because then you could plunge to your death or go down a waterfall or something. But macro shots is a little different, but yours was a little bit more exciting because you're playing Frogger through these traffic there. But
it was
yeah.
It was I was mostly safe, but yeah, it was 4 lanes of traffic and I just had to get to that saguaro. It was just a beautiful blooming moment.
Perfect. Okay, your second shot, so we have this picture of Sedona. It's one of the caves, one of those hikes. I see a picture, and you know what? I've always wanted to go here. I think I might have saw where this is on a map somewhere, and but I've never been. So go ahead and talk about that picture. It was on April 19th.
Yes. So most people call it the Subway Cave.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a quote unquote secret location in Sedona. The secret is definitely out.
Yes.
I think it even might be showing up on maps now. And eventually, probably the Park Service is going to try to, make sure the trail is a proper one
Mm-hmm.
and keep people safe on it. But anyway, for right now, it's not well marked. I think it's about maybe 6 miles round trip.
Okay.
You do have to do some scrambling to get up into the subway itself.
Okay.
And obviously on this day I caught it in the snow, which is pretty
Yes.
rare.
Yes.
And I was enthralled. It was absolutely stunning. It was breathtaking.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, I think that's a great capture you have there. I think especially because of the snow and all that, and it kind of highlights the whites in the background and off to the side a little bit there. But
Mhm.
is that walkway a little sketchy? Because it does look a little sketchy from looking at the picture there. It looks like
Yeah.
if you slip, or you have to be very careful when you're walking across that, I guess.
It's a fair ways down. When it's dry, during dry weather,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty easy to crawl up in there. The trail to the left side of the photograph is very easy, no problem at all, no
Okay.
danger.
Okay.
The trail to the right, there, it's not great, but during dry weather, it's fine,
Okay.
unless you have a severe fear of heights or
Yeah.
something like that. However, during the wet, I will say very clearly that I don't think anyone should have been out there and felt pretty stupid coming back off that thing. It was really slippery, and if you slipped, you were going to slide all the
You're
way down.
done. Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he would have died. He would have just sort of bounced to the bottom,
Yeah.
but I'm sure something would have broken. And
Yeah.
so the gentleman who climbed out there for me, I say thank you to him every time I look at that photograph, because the poor man had to then come back along that same trail and suffer the slipperiness. And he was just such a nice man, and it was wonderful of him to do that.
Yeah, I went down to Arizona. Been to Sedona and actually hiked the Devil's Bridge there, and I don't really.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, great hike. I don't
And I
have
loved
a.
your photograph. I saw it on your feed. It's
Oh,
a
thank
beautiful
you. Yeah,
shot.
that was a couple years ago, but yeah, it was. I don't know. I'm not scared of heights. I don't really have a phobia of heights, but I sometimes I get a little bit. I don't know. You get a little bit of jelly knees sometimes, and
Yeah.
I think because I worry, I might go vertigo or something. You never know, right?
Right, right.
At the wrong time, and but I'm more scared of just falling than I am of heights. But I'm just like, okay, well, this place I've always wanted to go. This one, and there's the other one, the Birthing Cave, which I was really close to when I was in Sedona, and I had no clue until I came back to Vancouver, and I was like, oh crap, I was literally right there.
So close.
Yeah, so
And that one,
close.
there's not a real issue with heights. It's an easy little climb up into it, and then to get the photograph, you kind of have to scramble back a little bit if you're trying to get that sort of full 360 feeling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you slide, you're not gonna, fall off
Plunge.
the deep edge or something. Yeah.
Are there a ton of people at these two hikes?
Yes.
Okay.
So even on the day when there was 4 inches of snow, I probably saw 10 to 15 people.
Okay.
I've also been there on a nice, warm, sunny day. It
Hundreds.
was closer to 30 people.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
this was before it was shown on the map. That may or may not be true. I'm not sure. I sort of noticed the name on a map, and I'm not sure if
Mm-hmm.
it's in the exact right place. I mean, people were searching for it, and people were going up and down the trail, asking strangers, hey, do you know where this is? Where's the
Oh,
turnoff?
okay.
So, and I also know that online there were quote unquote guides offering,
Really?
to lead you there for $30 or, whatever it
Oh,
was.
that's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it was it's not great. So,
Okay.
it's unfortunate, but it is such an amazing spot that I understand why people want to go. I mean, who wouldn't want to see that in person?
Yeah. The funny thing about like a few of our hikes up here, you would think that you see my picture and you go, "Ah, yeah, that's just him standing there." And then
Right, right.
some of these hikes, we literally there's hundreds of people there.
Yeah,
And it's brutal. Everybody lines up, takes their turn, takes their picture, and gets out of there, right?
right.
But
Yeah,
it
some
so
are just like that,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Okay, so we go for your third shot that I like here is in Colorado. It's a reflection off the water. It's got the mountains. I just recently took a shot similar to this and posted it today. Actually, I love that you have a person standing off the edge. That little person standing there. I'm not little when
Yeah,
you're up to
yeah.
them, but I noticed it right away, and I was like, "Yeah, this is a fantastic shot." Go ahead and talk about that.
I got so lucky. So first of all, that's my friend. I've known him for 20 years.
Yeah.
We enjoy all the same things. So try to meet every year, once or twice a year, just to touch base because he lives in Colorado, I live in Arizona, and so we meet in the middle somewhere.
Oh
And
yeah.
so we decided we wanted to see the fall colors. We decided on Telluride area. We met. We were so lucky. They had shut down the campground there
Oh.
the beginning of October. And this was just a couple days later. And so we got one of the last, like maybe the last camping sites that was left. There was six open still.
Okay.
And so we were there, we were camping. And that morning, there was no one else around. We crawled out of our, spaces,
Got the
hiked up the road,
yeah.
and this is what met us.
Got the fog off the water there.
Exactly.
Yeah, beautiful
I
shot.
mean, it was just the fact that we were there and got lucky, and it was amazing.
Yeah, very nice. I like that shot a lot. Well, okay, let's go with the last picture here. This is other than the bee shot, this is probably my favorite picture from you. And this
Mm,
was posted, I believe it's your last post. You have this golden leaf tree
yeah.
amongst some evergreens there. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's the art side of me or if it's just it's powerful to me, but I love this shot. Go ahead and talk about it.
So this was also when I was up in Telluride, and there's some gray areas there where you have these incredible golden, trees just bursting out of the evergreen mountains. And I kept looking and I kept looking and I kept looking for one that really had
Stood
a
out.
great backdrop and that I could get to, and get a good visual on. So, because sometimes there's something in the way, or.
Mm-hmm.
And right as I was headed home, it was the end of my time there, I had to leave. I was driving along, I did a double take as I was headed up. It was the side canyon, and there it was. And I was just so thrilled. And it was sort of like a wonderful goodbye to my little trip and this amazing memory of just how incredible the golden leaves are up in
Yeah.
Telluride and that whole area, the San Juan Mountains.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. It's got this great visual feeling to it, and I've sort of been trying to think of a way to put it into words, and it's really I haven't found any words to describe. It's this great lonely tree, but it's not lonely,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. It's
I,
alone but not lonely.
exactly, because that, like, I was thinking that too. Because not funny you say that actually, because I was thinking about that too. I was like, lonely tree, but then again, it's not a lonely tree, and I'm like, maybe amongst the evergreens or something like that. Like that would be kind of a nice, I don't know, a nice thing to caption it with. With my
Yeah.
captions, I'd probably say amongst the evergreeny greenertons or something like that. I would be playful on the words a little bit all the time, but
Yeah.
no,
No, it's good.
I definitely like. No, it's a great shot, and it's really nice that you can pick something out like that. I would have done something similar to this too, and capturing a picture like that. Like I would look for something like that. That's a great
Hmm.
a great visual of it for sure.
I usually, when I'm out there, I don't have an idea in my head of
No.
what I want. I
Mm-hmm.
simply open myself up and I wait for something to pop out at me.
Yep.
But when I did head up there that weekend, I just had this sort of image in my head of this
Yeah.
shot, and I kept looking for it, and I was so so happy that I found it there right at the end.
Yeah. Definitely one of my favorite shots for sure.
Thank you.
We have a lot of these golden leaf trees up here. A lot of
Hmm.
golds, a lot of reds. Those are our two strong ones, and they just light up our streets, right? And they do
Yeah.
that. It's all over the place here. Which for the funny thing is, I'm born and raised here, and walking through the city, it never even dawned on me that we had all these cherry blossoms and we had all these like golden leaf and red leaf as growing up as a kid in my 20s and my 30s for that matter. And then finally something hit me like around when I was like 40. Hey, you know what? This is beautiful color trees here.
I know it's so funny how you don't see something because you were, you know, I
Embedded
don't
in
know
it.
if you've,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. I mean, you probably haven't had this experience because you sort of had this awakening, clearly when when you picked up your camera, where you started looking around you and going, oh, wow, this is what I
Yeah.
have in my space, right?
Yeah.
But I go home. I was born and raised in Northern California,
Okay.
and there's so many places there that I am now discovering later, much later in life, that
Mm-hmm.
I never visited when I was a teenager, or and I don't know why. They're amazing. They're absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow I never saw them when I
No,
lived there.
I think as we age, we start to appreciate life and what the earth is giving, and what your surroundings are, and we forget
Hmm.
about those little small things now, and I think we focus on different things now, and like I'm into my 50s
Yeah.
now, so I'm kind of like, no, there's it's weird. I don't know. Like you said, it's awakening of some sort, right?
Yeah. And it's wonderful. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about some of the hikes that I'm interested in. Like I've noticed you've
Hmm.
done the wave. That's
Yes.
one hike I really want to go on. I know you have to win the damn lottery to get it. So we went down to Vegas. I was going to put my name down, and then if we don't get it, then we're kind of screwed, and we're gonna. And it was, and
Right.
it's tough, right? So I don't know if I'm ever going to end up going on that hike. Maybe one day when we decide to stay there for 2 3 days. But then hundreds
Hmm.
are putting their name in for this hike, right?
Very true. Yes.
Yeah.
So there's two ways to win the lottery. There's an online version and an in-person version.
Mm-hmm.
They say that in person you have better chance to actually win a ticket.
Okay.
But if you don't want to be there in person, which you have to be to win, the in-person lottery,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, then you go online. I think it's $9 now, $7 to $9 per entry. So even if you have a group of three or four, it's still only $9.
Okay.
Um, and so my understanding is that if you put yours in every month fairly regularly, it's about 2.5 years before
Holy
you
smokes!
win.
Really?
That is what a few photographers have said.
Wow.
Um, Now, I got lucky. I've been there twice, and I have certainly not waited 2.5 years.
Okay.
So don't get too discouraged.
And you did
It
the online
happens.
one, or
I did the online one. I've actually never been there in person.
okay?
You have to be there, I think, at 9 in the morning, the day before. Don't quote me on this. You might have to look it up. It might
Okay.
have changed because of the pandemic.
Of course.
But I believe it's the day before. I think it's around 9 or 10 in the morning. And then the next day would be when you would go.
And find out.
And if it's yeah, and if well, no, you actually are standing there. You put your name and number into they actually have a little, or at least they used to. They had one of those lotto things that they swirl,
Oh, okay.
and the names are pulled right then.
Okay.
And so if it's Friday morning, then you can put your name in for both Saturday and Sunday. If it's a Wednesday morning, then you can put your name in for Thursday,
Okay. Makes
right?
sense.
So, and then you know that you need to hang around until the next day, or if it's Friday and you won Sunday, then the Sunday you could go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a limited number. They have increased it recently. It used to be 20, and I want to say it's, oh gosh, 50, 58. I'm not sure exactly. So there are
Okay.
a few more entries allowed. I personally think that was an unfortunate choice. 20 was plenty. It's a very, very fragile, fragile, fragile ecosystem.
Yes.
And everyone sort of shows up in the morning. In pictures, it looks pretty big, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty small space. And so if you're all there at once, 20 people is way too many.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine nearly 60 people. The good news is if you wait a little while, so I was there in the summer, and both times I went, it was one of the hottest days. So I would leave, head out there in the dark. I would get there at dawn. I would do some photography. I actually wandered around quite a lot, but everyone else who had come left by noon
Okay.
because it was just so hot
Yeah.
and there's not a lot of shade.
No, it doesn't look like there'd be a lot of shade.
No, I mean, you can
No.
find a few places. And I wanted to say this about the wave. The wave itself is absolutely breathtaking.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely you want to be there and you want to take the photograph. Shadows are a big issue. So if it's a sunny day, you want to be there very early so that, as the sun comes up, it doesn't ruin your shot with odd shadows in the wrong
Okay.
places.
Okay.
Um, but there's a lot more around the wave that is absolutely worth seeing and worth hiking for.
Okay.
And the second time I went, it was a little cooler, and I spent the whole day almost wandering. And there's a couple places, to the south that are just really worth searching for.
Okay. Are there any restrictions once you go in there? Like, can you just wander around quite
You
a?
can totally wander around. I
Okay.
mean, you want to be polite. You don't want to crawl on anything fragile.
No, no.
But no, there is no restrictions at all. You can just go sort of wherever is safe.
Okay. Okay, so the other one that I wanted to talk to you about was Angel's Landing because that was something that I was supposed to do on my 50th, and then COVID struck.
Oh
So
no.
I didn't get to go down there. I canceled my trip. But that looks like some amazing. That's like one of my bucket list hikes, right? But what I see from the video, it looks like there's hundreds of people there. So
There is.
there is okay. So why
Yes.
don't you give us some insight here?
Okay, so on a good day, I wouldn't even go up there. Like, and by a good day, I mean good weather.
Like 20 something to or yeah.
Perfectly warm, lovely, clear, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there will be so many people that it literally is, in my opinion, dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people going up there who are very inexperienced. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They don't respect what's happening. They're very pushy,
That's not
or
good.
they're literally pushy, like I've been pushed.
Yeah, that's not good.
Or just, and they don't understand the rules of
Like etiquette.
hiking.
Yeah.
Yeah, for lack of a better word. So on a perfect day when the temperature's just right, I would avoid it.
Okay.
The day I went up in the afternoon. It was a cold day. There was clouds. It didn't make for great photography,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt a lot safer.
Okay.
I was not being pushed and shoved. People were not, well, there was a couple. I mean, they're literally running. They're almost running down and up
Like, why would they
this
do that?
very narrow.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly, because it's
and
narrow.
it's incredible. I mean,
There-
I don't even know how to describe it. It's thousands of feet down, and you're right on the edge, and
Yeah,
they'll just slide right past you.
yeah, because I've seen some of those chained areas where they're literally on a side of a crevice or
Yes.
something, and I know you have a bit of a walk path, but not really that wide of one. And
It's not wide at all. You're stepping over 1,000-foot drops.
yeah, and I don't
I mean,
understand why anybody like you to literally pass someone, you would have to grab the chain from the other side of this person and pretty
yes,
much like hug them
you
across,
do.
right?
Yes, exactly. You're describing it perfectly.
So that's
Um,
something I wouldn't like to do because I find
it's
that dangerous.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking down doesn't bother me,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't like exposure. It makes me feel a little weird in the knees.
Yeah.
You get the jelly knees, or you get this feeling like you're not really lightheaded, but not feeling great either.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
So I don't like to let go of that chain, and you'll get people who are going the opposite direction, and somehow you have to figure out how to pass each other.
And
And if
can
they're
they?
just as terrified as you are, then you really
Yeah,
have problems.
someone's got to give in, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to know what you're taking on when you go up there.
Okay.
You have to be respectful of everyone around you. If it's a really busy day, the line is going to go extremely slowly.
Hmm.
And then when you get to the top, there's also not that much room up there. And so
Okay.
you'll have to do that sort of switching of positions, and you're standing on the edge, and if someone steps back and bumps into you, you better be ready to brace yourself, because there's no chains to hold you
Okay.
on. You're gonna go over.
I saw a couple of videos of people up there and they're dangling off the rock. Like they're sitting,
Yeah.
they're dangling their feet off the rocks at the very top there. And one guy actually climbed down, probably, I would say maybe 3 to 5 feet, and on a little rock.
Wow.
And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Like, seriously, like, give your head a shake, because if you fall, you're done. And I know there's been deaths there, too.
There have, yes,
Yeah.
accidental and otherwise.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. But
So,
it's not
yeah,
worth that picture. It's not worth that video to get, like, that much
no.
closer. And here, even when we have a pathway, I always, like, respect the people and just say, hey, if you're going faster, I'm just going to pull over and let you go past. Right? So,
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
why not be kind to people? You
exactly.
know, what are you going to gain by blocking their path, or what's to gain from hanging off the edge of something just to make a few people like your picture on Instagram? I mean,
Yeah.
that to me, it doesn't seem very
Yeah.
smart.
No.
I don't understand that at all. I think you get just as great a picture and
Yes, I agree.
respecting the terrain as you're there.
I agree.
I was going to say up there at the top, I mean, it is absolutely worth going if you
Mm-hmm.
can stand the heights. It's an incredible view, and it's once in a lifetime moment of just being awestruck and wowed,
Yep.
and nature everywhere spread out below you, and it's worth it. But just be aware of the all the little things that are going to happen, all the crowds, all the scary moments,
Yeah.
and be prepared.
If I do go, I'll probably go really early in the morning.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be smart. Because I was just going to say the buses that take you up there,
Mm-hmm.
you're not allowed to drive, and the buses do stop at a set hour in the evening. And if they are full, if you are looking for the last bus
You got to
and
hike
that
it
bus is
down.
already full, they will not come back for you.
Oh,
You have to walk all the way out.
okay. Is it a long way?
It's a long way.
Okay.
Especially if you've just done Angel's Landing and you have your backpack full of gear or
Yeah.
whatever. And is it 20 miles? No, but in the dark, in the cold, it's not pleasant.
Surrounded by cougars. Yeah, it's not pleasant.
Yes, possibly.
All right, David. So, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, so in your photographs I see a lot of your love for your city,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's really amazing. And I'm wondering how you balance your love for your city and the love for wilderness that you obviously have
Mm-hmm.
on your Instagram feed. How do you decide what to do there?
So, hiking season for me is typically from spring to the end of to the fall time, basically. So
Hmm.
that's when I'll kind of post up a lot of my hiking shots, a lot of the wilderness shots, a lot of the shots that I'll go out and do my hikes and capture the beauty of the sun hitting the lakes, or the waterfall and all that stuff. When it comes to after that, this is actually the first year that I bought snowshoes. So I bought snowshoes, and
Ah,
I know everybody seems to think that we snow, like 11 months out of the year here. We don't.
right.
We have the same temperature as Seattle. It only snows here maybe once every 3 years, and if it does, it may just last a week. It doesn't last very long. There are years where we get a couple months, like maybe a month of snow or something like that, but
Hmm.
it's a rarity. We have the most mild temperature all across Canada here, and I would say even compared to your East Coast in the States, we're a lot more mild here. For that reason, in the wintertime, it rains a lot here, and it does get a little
Uh-huh.
cold. So I don't typically go out for hikes during that time. So normally, what we do is I'll start taking more like night photography of the city, or
Mm.
I'll try to capture some more, photos of city life and all that stuff. And that's why I mix up the way I do mix things up. And this is
It's like
the
a practical reason in a
yeah,
sense.
and this is the year that like I said, I just bought snowshoes, so I'm gonna do snowshoeing this year. And I was told by a couple of my friends saying that how different everything looks on these hikes and how amazing like the snow makes it look. And I was like,
Right,
yeah, because it's up in the mountains, right? So
right, right.
where majority of our snow lies.
Well, I think it's wonderful to have that kind of variety, and you can clearly see in your shots how much you enjoy both, how
Yes.
much you just love where you live in both ways, in the architectural human side of it, and then also just the wilderness and the
Oh yeah.
amazing landscapes
Well,
you
thanks for noticing.
have
I don't
there.
know if anybody else ever noticed that, but I absolutely love Vancouver, born and raised here, and I can't say nothing bad about it. It's a great city, except for it's bloody hell expensive here. Yeah.
I visited and it was gorgeous. It was a gorgeous city, but yeah, it was not cheap.
No, and buying a house here is insane.
Can't imagine.
If you want to, like, even a dumpy house in Vancouver, Greater Vancouver, I should say, you're looking easily $1 million already. And
Wow.
that's like, I'm talking like an old home that needs to be fixed
Right.
up. And yeah,
That's incredible.
it's incredible. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so then I wanted to ask you, how do you feel? And we talked a little bit about this earlier, but as we age, how do you feel like that has affected your photography? Just your viewpoint on the world. Have you noticed a huge shift as you've grown older in what you see, what you don't see, what you look for?
Most definitely. Like I was saying to you before, where I didn't notice some of the colors that I was born and raised around, right? And
Hmm.
I knew they were always there because I remember my parents saying, "Oh, cherry blossoms are out again," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay."
Right.
now I'm
Never.
now I'm driving around town looking for the shot, right? I'm like, "There's a nice set of trees." I was like, "What an idiot!" But also because I'm in my early 50s, that when I was a child, we didn't have phones. We didn't have like the luxury of cameras and all that
Right.
stuff, right? And basically, you kind of, I don't know, like I think I've always had the eye for things, but it just didn't, it didn't come to my mind until I got later on in life, I guess. Like you said, when you start aging, you just, I wanted to say when I was younger that when we were growing up, we always had to keep our heads up, right? We didn't
Yeah.
look down on our phones. We weren't walking around with our heads down.
Right.
We're riding bikes and we're walking to school, walking back, and our heads
Right.
were up. So we were out. My parents didn't know where the hell we were because they couldn't call us. Uh,
Absolutely not. Yep.
no, and we were, in the back of my buddy's place playing hockey or riding bikes up the mountain or something like that. Like we were always finding
Hmm.
playing sports, and it was always face up, right? Always head up, and that's why you noticed a lot of things too. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I noticed, that now that I'm taking more pictures, my head is up a lot, and the funny thing is, the more my head is up, the more I notice people's heads are down.
Ah,
You know what I mean?
interesting observation. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and it just seems like it's kind of sad because when they start aging, and it may take them to the age that I'm at now, where I've actually noticed this about 15 years ago, that life does pass you by, and it goes
Yes.
it goes right by. And I talked to a couple of my guests about this before, where you never know, because that could have been a relationship that just walked by. That could have been your future girlfriend, your future wife. That could have been a business
Right.
relationship that just walked by, or that could have been like one a hell of a best friend for years to come that just walked by.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you had your freaking head down and you just let life go, right?
Right. You were living in a plastic box and not in the
yes,
real world.
and I think people are more concerned about how they look on these social media things than they are in actual, like when they're
Yeah.
living it. So I think there's a lot more social awkwardness out there now, where for me, I can talk to anyone. Like
Right.
I can talk
Yeah.
to anyone for an hour about nothing, right? And it's just, I love talking, I love meeting people, and I love hearing about people, but not everyone, because there's a lot of weirdos out there too. But
There is.
you
Yes.
got to be real,
But
right?
right. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you haven't lived your whole life in a box, it's a lot easier to find something in common, something to discuss, something to learn. But if you've spent your life looking at, apps,
Mm-hmm.
then you
Mm-hmm.
don't have as much skill,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah. And a lot of these
Um,
people are really good online. They're really good. But then when they meet them in person, they look like turtles. They kind of just go away. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what was that?
right.
Like,
Yes.
And
And literally turtles. So I work in the fitness industry. I
yeah.
have for my entire career, and I have noticed tremendously in the last decade how the younger, you know, tween on up to early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
the posture is remarkably similar to a turtle.
Mm-hmm. And
The neck is forward and bent, and the back is rounded, and they look like they're about to shrink into a shell, and
yep.
it looks looks painful.
And we're not knocking them. Like I think they're
Oh,
really.
absolutely not.
I think to be born in this era and to have all this like knowledge at your hands and all this opportunity, all these opportunities that you can make tons of money, like in this
Oh, yeah.
social
And some of
medias and
them
this
are incredibly skilled.
a
I
hundred
mean,
percent.
I am in awe of how they put together their platform, whatever platform they've chosen, how they put it together and how they present
Mm-hmm.
it to the world. And the
Mm-hmm.
skill and the creativity is just phenomenal
Mind blowing. Yes.
out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just amazing. You're definitely not knocking them. But
No.
if they ever have neck problems, come see me.
That's
I'll help.
right. And I always say this. I wish I was 20, 30 years younger, and if I was, I guarantee you that if I was 30 years younger than what I am right now, I'd be a millionaire by the time I'll be in great shape in no time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just because I know that I dedicate all that work to it and I would work hard to it. I'm personable. I know how to
Right.
talk to people. And I can, I got the gift of gab when I see people face to face. I'm not scared of them.
Right, right.
So I don't know why a lot of people don't use this. Like, I mean, we had to get encyclopedias and read books and now it's like one click away and you got the world's, your oyster. It's right in
It's
front of you.
amazing. Yeah.
Right? And
The
I
last
don't.
20 years have been phenomenal when it comes to the information available.
Oh yeah.
It's incredible.
I mean, I had to look up trips. Like, oh, we're gonna go to, I don't know, like maybe we're gonna go to Portland or something. I mean, where do we visit? Like, you have to read books and find a map to
Right,
get
right.
there. And now it's like everything's done for you, and you can just one click away, go here, go here, go here,
Boom, you're
boom,
ready to
you're
go.
done. Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of funny. Yeah.
It is, yeah. So, I would also like to ask you about your dog.
Okay, Scooby. Yeah.
I just think he's the cutest thing ever. How old is he?
He is 9 now.
9?
Yeah, he's 9. I picked him up at 1 year of age. He's a rescue dog,
Hmm.
and he was my first dog, and he will probably be my last dog. I wanted a dog for the family, so we ended
Hmm.
up getting the dog for the family, and I want my kids to grow up with at least one dog in their life. So I'm not a pro again. I'm not a pro at raising a dog, but the funny thing is, when friends come over, they're like, "Holy smokes, Scooby's so obedient! Like, he does all these tricks. He can balance things. He can, stay frozen. I can shoot him. I can shake any paw I want. I can make him back up, make him play dead, shoot him. Like everything, and I can walk him off
Right.
leash. And I trained them all for that. And they're like, "How'd you do it?" Because my stupid dog doesn't do anything. And I'm like, I don't know. I watched a lot of Caesar Milan at
There
the
you go. I was gonna say, Caesar to the rescue.
yeah, and I watched a lot of him before I got Scooby, and then I just incorporated some of the teaching methods I did to this dog. And I'm like, food teaches everybody everything. So, here's Scooby.
That's a good point. Yes. Well, I
Yeah.
think also, I mean, dogs, they give as much as they receive and then some. And if they're getting a lot of love, if you're just in love with them and they know it, then they
Yeah.
will give that back 1,000%. And dogs are just amazing. And you can just see him. I loved watching you have him balancing the whole can of Pringles on
Pringles,
his
yeah.
nose.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow. I'm in love with this dog and I've never
Yeah.
met him.
Yeah.
So I had to ask you about him. I just think he's adorable. He's
No,
really, really cute.
yeah, he's a mixed Australian Shepherd and Border Collie is what they told me. And
Okay.
we don't know if that's true because he does smell a lot. Like every time I take him somewhere, that's all he does is have his head down and he's smelling. And I can barely take him on hikes because it'll triple the time that I'm usually
No.
taking. And I'm like,
Oh, dear.
oh man. But no, he's a great dog. And I think I definitely will be devastated once he goes, and I will definitely miss him. But he's here now, and he's still in pretty good shape, and he's 9, so we'll see. But
Yeah, you've got some years left.
I
quite a
got
few
I
years.
got a few years left, but I just don't see myself having a second dog anymore. I don't know. I say that now,
Yeah.
but I might change my mind later.
I call them your heart dog.
Yeah.
And usually just one comes along in your lifetime. And when you meet that dog, um, yeah, you can't imagine replacing them in your life, even though it's not replacing them, it's just getting something different. But
That's right.
it's your heart dog. It's there's nothing better than that
Yeah.
spirit, and
And I
getting something else is just not right after that.
no, thanks for that. And I know that as if I feel the same way. But yeah, he's. I don't know. I didn't. When I first got him, his name was Rocky. I was like, "You're not a freaking
Well,
Rocky.
that's not right.
You're not Rocky." And then
You got a much better name.
and then I was like, "Nope, I'm gonna name him Scooby because he's a super smart dog, but he's scared of everything." So he doesn't like
Poor guy.
vacuums. He doesn't like fireworks. But no, a lot of dogs don't, right? But
Right,
he
it's
but he
true.
is scared of everything. So, but super
Scooby's
smart,
perfect.
perfect. Yes.
That is perfect.
Well, it was
No,
a
you got a great companion.
thank you. It was a great chat with you, Deva. So no, I thank you for joining me on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much, Albie. It's really been a pleasure to talk to you, and I've just really enjoyed this experience. Thank you for doing this for me and for others. It's
No,
wonderful.
definitely. It's my pleasure. I have a lot of fun doing this. So if you not following Deva on Instagram, give her a follow. Like I said, she goes by DLINGEMANN. Give her a follow, and she'll probably follow you back if you're one of my followers. So anyways,
Absolutely.
yeah. And that's it for this episode. But don't forget that if you can kindly support me by hitting the subscribe, like, and notification buttons, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks.